This iMovie is about how my media represents different social groups. And within the start here, you can see this is a photo from my media production. You can see George, the leather jacket, and his briefcase in a big house. And this represents this sort of wealthy, middle class social group that I was trying to represent with his character at the start of the production to show that he was wealthy and was middle class, and it's a good representation. Whereas in the next sort of photo, you see George a little bit differently. You see him with he's still with his leather jacket and his respectable hair and stuff. But he's wearing a bag. He has a bag on him and no shirt. And this kind of represents a sort of a slightly younger, more vulnerable, more sort of he's thinking more about sort of he's thinking as a teenager now more, and this represents the teenage social group just by what he's wearing, just by his action of smoking and stuff. It shows that he's deteriorating slowly, he doesn't care, and he's sort of immaturing, if you know what I mean. And that represents the teenage social group. Here, this is a clip. This is from a little bit earlier in the production than the one you just saw last time, and this represents George's again. I'm just exaggerating the middle class sort of social group I'm trying to represent here, and this is because of the big glass of wine and his black shirt and the way he's in a restaurant and stuff, and he's got a packet of cigarettes instead of a roll-up cigarette, and this exaggerates his wealth, and it's kind of demonstrates that he is a middle class wealthy worker. And these sort of workers are people a lot like office workers, who would go to work 9 to 5 every week, earn a salary. It's kind of a boring lifestyle, and this is what I was trying to represent. This is what I was trying to show, that the fact that George in the production as the character is at the start representing these office workers, but he's not representing them in a positive way. He's not representing this social group positively. It's more like a negative fact. It's more like they're bored, more like they don't know he doesn't know what to do with himself, and sort of his life is too you know numb and easy, and that's what I was representing. That's the sort of social group I was trying to you know demonstrate with the character at the start of the production. And even though he's got this wealth, and even though he's got this sort of middle class thing going on, he's still not happy, and that shows that money will not buy him happiness. And this is represented throughout the production, because there's one point when George would decide to throw his wallet off the balcony and everything. And this is a representation of the lack of value people have for money. This social group has for money. This middle class social group has, because they have it. We have it all the time, sort of thing. It's like a daily thing. It doesn't bother him anymore about how much money he has, about how much money he's earning, about what he spends his money on. He doesn't care anymore. And this is a representation to the social group, because it kind of represents their sort of devalued view on money, and their pursuit for happiness in other things, in other respects, or just for a satisfied life in other ways. And this is what I really worked on, and I showed that even though this middle class group is like in the media represented overall as a group of satisfied, happy workers, there's a small niche social group within that George represents, who show unhappiness and show that drug addiction does happen in the middle class. And it shows that even though he's got this wealth, that he becomes bored and he starts to deteriorate. And here you can see that he is now deteriorating, and he's got a white top on, and the top is ripped, and he's got wet hair, and he looks a lot more upset than he did before. But at least he shows and exaggerates more emotion. And the other times he was just numb completely, he had no expression on his face. At least now he's showing a more exaggerated expression. And this can be sort of represented. This can represent a slightly different social group in the respect of, to forget the class, as a drug addict. George in the production, that was just a couple of short screenshots. He is desperate for drugs. He's desperate for his to feed his addiction, and this is a very emotional and a horrible, hard burden and strain that this social group has. And I don't think that it's a social group as in, if you do a little bit of drugs here and there at all, you're part of the social group. I think it's more, there is a social group represented with hard drugs, because 80% of the people who are on the streets are on hard drugs and stuff like that. And this is kind of a representation of that sort of social group, if you can call it a social group. It's kind of up to opinion. And I feel that he's just working his way through here, showing that no matter what class you are, you can still deteriorate into a social group like this. And that is why, and that's how I represented my group.